Hostage, a Todd Mills mystery, book 3 in the series. Author R.D. Zimmerman, publisher Scribble Pub. Narrator Eric Aust. Chapter 6. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that Cindy Wilson's career at Channel 7 was in a distinct nosedive, and no one knew it better than Cindy herself. In fact, she'd been slipping ever since the Todd Mills fiasco last year. There'd been all that botched business with him and that murder, and instead of taking over for Todd Mills as the lead reporter on WTCN's climax segment, the whole concept had been canned. Cindy still couldn't believe it. She'd been so sure she'd take Todd's spot, and that would prove to be her stepping stone to an Emmy or two, just as it had been Todd's. But instead, management had bagged the whole bit. Too much Todd's, they'd said. People associated it entirely with him. Better to start something else than try and relaunch it with a new lead reporter. Bullshit, thought Cindy Wilson, an attractive blonde woman as she sat in her tiny office at the station. When it looked as if Todd Mills was guilty as sin, Roger Locker, the station director, had made the decision to go after Todd. Hook, line, sinker, rod, and fishing boat. It was news, hot news, and it was far better to cast the first stone than sit there with mud on their faces and having a murderous reporter on their staff. True, Cindy had been in on the decision and had been the reporter covering it, which might be part of why her popularity had plummeted, for at least one editorial in the gay papers had branded her a homophobe. But in any case, the whole thing had backfired. Todd came out a big winner in the sympathy department, and rather than try to relaunch the Crime Eyes segment without Todd and have to explain just why he was no longer working there, WTCN management decided to jettison the entire thing. Oh, brother, didn't anyone out there understand that it was about ratings and viewership? That by going after Todd, she'd just been doing her job? And didn't anyone out there understand that she was just as good as that squirrely Todd Mills? Better even, she didn't push things like Todd did. She didn't try to expose the ugly underside of things. No, she gave people a story that made them hopeful, that made them feel good. And recently, as a matter of fact, it seemed that viewers were appreciating her more and more. At least until Todd Mills reappeared last month on WLAK. The return of Todd Mills, she thought with a slow shake of her head. That jerk cast such a big shadow. He was cute, he was smart, nice voice, broad shoulders, and so on, and so on. But so what? She'd never bring in her personal life as he had. She'd never let her problems air like a soap opera for everyone to see. Yet he had. And look at where it had gotten him. Channel 10 had thrown all sorts of money at him, and his first story for them, the one on the Mega Mall, hadn't gotten so much advanced publicity or so many viewers because Todd had done such a great job. And it was such a hot piece. No. It got all that attention because everyone wanted to witness the reappearance of Todd Mills, the infamous homosexual. So, maybe that was what it was all about after all, mused Cindy. Sex. What was she supposed to do? Then go out and sleep with the governor? It just wasn't fair. How was an ambitious woman like her supposed to make it? And on top of it all, she thought, as her anger rose to a pitch, Todd was getting an exclusive interview with Johnny Clarington. Cindy Wilson shuffled through some papers atop her desk. Channel 10 had somehow finagled the interview, then assigned the one reporter who was most certain to clash with the congressman. And it was going to be hot, she was sure of it. Lots of people would watch. It'd be a tough interview, but Todd would do it, and do it beautifully. She was certain he would. For Cindy had worked in his shadow, literally. So because Todd was such a hog, he barely shared the spotlight with anyone, and she'd watched him burrow in, bite, hold, and not let go until his point was made, which meant lots more people would admire Todd Mills. Okay, so give Todd a great big gold star. What could she do about it anyway? The intercom on her phone cracked, and a deep, gravelly voice commanded, "Cindy, get in here." She wasn't ready for this, but she pressed down on the button anyway and called back, Sure, Roger. Her boss, Mr. Type A, the original prime candidate for a heart attack that Todd had rejected Channel 7's late and lame offer, presented to Todd only after the grapevine brought news of Channel 10's offer, still infuriated Roger Locker. They'd had Todd, lost him once, then lost him a second time, for a Mills agent had quite ceremoniously told Locker to go take a flying leap. And Cindy, of course, knew what was driving up Roger's blood pressure this morning. The Clarendon interview that Channel 7 was not conducting. Cindy rolled her chair back, headed out of her office and down the narrow hall. She brushed aside a wisp of her blonde hair, then smoothed her ivory-colored blouse, fussed with her gold bracelets. Of course, she knew what this was going to be about, and of course she knew it wouldn't be pretty. Stepping into the doorway of his office, she put on a big smile and said, "Hi, Roger." A heavy-set, balding man, he looked up, a scowl on his face. "What the hell were you doing in Uptown all morning, sipping on a nice cafe latte or something?" Roger specialized in intimidation, and Cindy fell for it every time. Even though she should have expected something like this, her face began to flush with embarrassed warmth. She replied, interviewing some of Mr. Clarendon's fans." "Well, that's what I just saw on the tape. Imagine my surprise, and what did I tell you to do?" "Roger, that was impossible. Which is exactly what I expect you and everyone else here at WTCN to do. The goddamn impossible. I wanted our lead tonight to be the first interview with Johnny Clarendon." "You don't understand. There was no way he'd talk with me." "Why?" "Roger, I couldn't even get close to him." "Why?" "Because he's got this bossy aide as well as this incredible Hulk for a bodyguard who wouldn't let anyone near him. It was a book signing, and a book signing only." Cindy shrugged. "Sorry, Roger. They wanted and encouraged me to film his fans, which is to say, voters. That's what they wanted to get across. Not his book, not his politics, but his popularity. I mean, everyone knows he's going to run for president." She shrugged. "I did my best, but there was no way I could speak to him directly. Trust me, Roger, I got as much as I could. And besides, none of the other stations had a crew there, not even WLAK. Well, all you got is drivel, just a bunch of gushy folks and one nutcase, and drivel isn't news. Our viewers are no dummies, and if we put that on the air, everyone will know it's because Clarendon wouldn't speak directly to us." He shook his head. "Don't you see what I was trying to do? Don't you see that I just wanted to steal some of Channel 10's sizzle? That's my job, to make you look good, to make Channel 7 look good." "I know, Roger, but..." "But what? You don't want to be the best?" "Of course I do. You know that," she fired back at the same time, thinking, if I were the best, would I put up with this kind of crap? "So this is what I want you to do." He spun his chair around and stared out the window. "Yeah, this'll work." Uh-oh. Roger's main job, it seemed, was to sit around the station and first get mad, and second concoct wild schemes no one knew that better than Cindy, who had bought into the far too many of his plans, none of which actually had led to the big break Cindy was in search of. "Cindy, I want you to get all dolled up." He swiveled back, looking her up and down, really seeing her for the first time that morning. "Well, you look good already, but take a couple of minutes and just sort of fuss yourself up. Put on some nice perfume." "Oh, come on, Roger," she moaned, fully knowing where this was going. "Just do it up. Make yourself glamorous, then I want you to grab a photographer, take anyone, and head down the street to Jerome's." "Ah, gee, let me guess. You want me to take another stab at him, so to speak?" "Exactly." Locker checked his watch. "Clarendon's roundtable is scheduled to start in only 20 minutes. Get your rear down there and see what you can turn up." You mean before our turncoat friend Todd shows up?" "You got it. I want you to sweet-talk your way into that lunch. Maybe you could sneak into the back of the room. Listen in." He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out his wallet. Here's $100. "100? At $5 a plate? That isn't even going to buy me a carrot stick." "No, my dear, I want you to bribe the maitre d' to let you in. Clarendon's going to make a speech or a toast or something, and I want you to be right there. Maybe you can take along a pocket recorder and tape it. And then when the lunch is over, just rush over and start talking. Get him to say something, anything, even if it's just a few words, so that you can be the first Twin Cities reporter to talk with Claritin. And don't forget to get some footage of you and Claritin together. If you snuggle up right next to him, I'm sure he'll wrap his arms around you, make it look like he's in love with you. Then we can edit in what you got this morning, and you can do a voiceover. Oh, I get it. Well, pondered Cindy without a smile. It might work. We piece it all together to make it look like we've got the most extensive coverage of Claritin's entire day. Right. Trust me, all you need to do is catch his eye and he'll give you a few minutes. There's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Claritin would rather talk to a gorgeous girl like you than, well, a gay guy like Todd. But don't worry, said Roger, reaching for the phone. I'm going to make sure things go our way because, after all, this ain't no dress rehearsal. Cindy shook her head and moaned, Oh, brother, how did I ever end up working here? And with that, Cindy Wilson headed back down the hall. All she had to do was dab on some makeup, grab her black leather coat, get a photographer, and she'd be on her way, destined, she sensed, to stir up as much news as possible. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.